Audio Jungle.
Poverty. Poverty is defined as a state or conditions in which an individual or community lacks the financial resources and necessity for a basic standards of living. Poverty is defined as having an income level from employment that is so low that basic human needs cannot be met. Poverty-stricken individuals and families may be deprived of adequate housing, safe drinking water, nutritious food, and medical care. Each country may have its own thresholds for determining how many of its citizens are poor.
So this is the diagram, right?
The diagram shows Malaysia's urban poverty rate was 3.8% in 2019, while rural poverty was 12.4%. Malaysia revised its national poverty line income in 2019, increasing it from 918 Malaysian ringgit to 2,208 Malaysian ringgit. This accounted for the rise in the poverty rate in 2016. The Household Income Survey, HIS, is one of the surveys conducted by Malaysia's Department of Statistics. This survey was first conducted in 1973 and has since been repeated twice every 5 years for a total of 2 surveys during each Malaysian Development Plan period. The main goals of the HIS are to measure the population's economic well-being, collect information on the income distributions pattern of households classified by various social-economic characteristics, and provide the base data for calculating the poverty line income (PLI). Statistics on household income and poverty are used in policy formulations and development planning, particularly for poverty eradication programs and income distribution strategies. Post-enumeration survey, agricultural census, and household income were used to compile the statistics provided. Statistical compilations were used to compile the statistics provided. Zakat. As one of Islam's 5 pillars, it is a religious obligation for all the Muslims who met the necessary criteria of wealth to help the needy. It is mandatory charitable contributions that is frequently regarded as a tax. Zakat payment have played a significant role in Islamic history, most notably during the Riddah War. Zakat on wealth is calculated based on the total value of one's possessions. It is customarily 2.5% of a Muslim's total saving, and wealth above a certain amount known as nisab, but Islamic scholars disagree on the amount of nisab and other aspects of zakat. The collected amount according to the Islamic doctrine should be paid to the poor and needy. Zakat collectors, recent converts to Islam, those to be freed from slavery, those in debt in the cause of Allah, and to help the stranded traveler. Social rule. Muslim regard zakat as a pious act in which one expresses concern for the well-being of fellow Muslim while also preserving social harmony between the wealthy and the poor. Zakat encourages more equitable wealth distributions and fosters as a sense of unity among Ummah members. Tax. A tax is a mandatory financial charge or other type of levies imposed by a governmental organizations on a taxpayer, an individual or legal entity, to fund government spending and various public expenditures, such as regional, local, or national. Failure to pay on time, as well as evasions or resistance to the taxations, it is illegal and punishable by law. Taxes can be direct or indirect, and they can be paid in cash or in labor equivalents. The first known taxations occurred in ancient Egypt between 3000 and 2800 BC. Because the legal and economic definitions of taxes differ in some ways, economies do not consider many transfers to the government to be taxed. Some transfers to the public sector, for example, are comparable to the price. Tuition at public universities and utility fees levied by local governments are two examples. The purpose of taxations is to raise revenue, to fund government, or to change prices to affected demand. Throughout history, states and their functional equivalents have used the money generated by taxations to carry out a variety of functions. Among these are expenditures on economic infrastructures such as roads, public transportations, sanitations, legal systems, public security, public educations, public health system, and the military, scientific resources, and also the development. The ability of a government to raise taxes is referred to as fiscal capacity. A government incurs debt when its expenditures exceed its tax revenue. A portion of your tax may be used to pay off all debt. Tax effect can be classified into two broad categories. The first one is taxes have an income effect by they reduce taxpayers' purchasing power. The second one is taxations has a substitutions effect when goods are substituted between taxed and untaxed.
The diagram 2 shows the tax revenue.
In Malaysia, tax to GDP ratio in 2019 in comparisons to other Asian and Pacific economies and regional average. Because 2019 data are not available, Data from 2019 are used for the Africa 30 average, Australia, and also Japan. Over time, the tax to GDP ratio determines taxes in the OECD classification refers to mandatory unrequited payments to the general government. Taxes are unrequited in the sense that the benefits provided by the government to taxpayers are usually not proportional to their payments. Regional average OECD LAC Africa 30 refer to the revenue statistics in Latin America as well as the revenue statistic OECD and revenue statistics in Africa 2020 editions. Malaysia's tax to GDP ratio was 12.4% in 2019 and 8.6% points lower than the Asians and Pacific 24 average of 21.0%.
This is the diagram 3.
Average of zakat and tax in Malaysia. First, average of zakat. For every year that you owe zakat, take 2.5% from the total wealth you had at the end of that year and pay that in zakat. If you are not sure how much wealth you had, you must estimate it to the best of your ability. For example, it is now Ramadan 2020. You have not paid zakat for the last 5 years. Next, 2.5% from the total annual net income after the allowable basic need expenses deduction, which is exceed nisab. 2.5% from the total annual net income after the actual basic need expenses deduction. Next, for the average of tax in Malaysia, a non-resident individual is taxed at a flat rate of 13% on total taxable income. A qualified person, defined who is a knowledge worker residing in Iskandar, Malaysia, is taxed at the rate of 15% on income from an employment with a designated company engaged in a qualified activity in that specific region.
So, who need to pay zakat and tax? Zakat is wajib or compulsory for all adult Muslim whose total annual wealth meet or exceed the nisab. Below are the conditions or every Muslim must meet. First, he or she must be a Muslim. Number 2, own their own wealth. Number 3, possess minimum amount of wealth based on the nisab. Number 4, have had the wealth in their possession for minimum how. Number 5, wealth should be a productive nature, can derive profit, example like gold or silver. While for the tax, any individual earning more than 34,000 per annum or roughly RM2,833 ringgit per month after APF deduction has to register a tax file. You must pay income tax on all types of income, including income from your business or profession, employment, dividend, interest, discount, rent, royalty, premiums, pension, annuities, and others. So for salaried employees, this does not include your monthly salary, but also things like bonuses, overtime, commission, and all other taxable income. If you are not sure what counts as income that you have to declare for tax purposes, you can visit Inland Revenue Board of Malaysia. You don't have to pay taxes in Malaysia if you have been employed in the country for less than 60 days or for income that is earned outside Malaysia. There are many places you can pay zakat. Here are several places you can pay zakat. Example, Number 1, online through the website. Number 2, internet banking. Number 3, MyEG. Number 4, official agents. Number 5, in person at zakat branch. Number 6, over-counter at the post office. Number 7, selected bank counters or ATM. While for tax, there are several places too, such as LHD and agents. Number 2, over-the-counter at bank branches. Number 3, online. Number 4, ATM machine. Number 5, telebanking. Number 6, check deposit machine. Number 7, cash deposit machine. Zakat as income tax rebate in Malaysia. One perk of making zakat payment is that it acts as a rebate for your annual income taxes. A tax rebate is a reduction in the actual amount of income tax you have to pay. Unlike tax relief, which merely reduces your chargeable income amount. Furthermore, the cap on the amount of tax rebate you can claim for zakat is subject to the maximum of tax charge. All this means that zakat payment can help reduce the amount of income tax you pay tremendously. In fact, this rebate can sometimes be enough to reduce your amount income tax to RM0. Here an example. Let's say after all your tax relief and tax deduction, your tax amount comes up to RM450 and the amount of zakat you have to pay in the same assessment year is 500. Since you are allowed to deduct the amount of tax rebate for zakat subject to the maximum of tax charge, your required amount to pay will be reduced to RM0. Both zakat and taxation play an important role, especially towards the development of socio-economy in Malaysia.
Zakat literally means to expand and increase, but in Sharia, it refers to Allah's compulsory transfer of wealth. The goal of zakat is to eradicate the human character of greed. It is hoped that through paying zakat, one can purify one's property, reconcile one's heart, meet the needs of the poor and needy, and reduce poverty. Zakat management that is efficient and methodical has the ability to increase zakat's potential as a tool for Muslim growth in Malaysia. For information, each state Islamic Religious Council is in charge of zakat administration and management. When the Islamic Religious Council has a role in fairly and truthfully determining the eligibility of zakat recipients and the type of aid that is suited to their eligibility.
Lastly, in conclusion, zakat and tax have similarities and differences by definition. The fundamental characteristic of zakat is that it is a stipulation by Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. It therefore has to be collected and distributed according to Sharia law and not left to the whim of the ruler.
That's all from us.